Hello, my name is Eric Putkonen. Thank you for joining me. Today I'm going to be talking about the cause of suffering. Now, the ultimate cause of suffering is ignorance. But before we get too deep into that, let's first define suffering. Because a lot of people confuse pain and suffering. And any lawyer can tell you pain and suffering are two very different things, as you're allowed to sue for both pain and suffering. Pain arises due to the nerves of the body. So if we're cut, injured, so forth, the nerves fire and the brain registers pain. Suffering, on the other hand, is the additional misery, anguish, and such that we add on to this. It's made up through our thoughts, beliefs, concepts. We just, create misery and anguish over what is. And so that is the difference between pain and suffering. Now, all suffering, as I said, ultimately arises due to ignorance. And that's just kind of a generic blanket. I mean, ignorance is also misunderstanding, avoidance, things like that. So, what is it that we're avoiding? We're simply avoiding and resisting what is. What is being resisted, and so we suffer. For example, all things are temporary, transient, constantly changing. And yet we want to treat them as if they are permanent and we'll be able to have them forever, in total disregard of reality. We lie to ourselves, we misunderstand. But in any way, we feel that things should not go away. And this is, a denial, a resisting of what is, but also a misunderstanding or ignorance of the total certainty of life, that things are transitory, change, and just not accepting it. And so if one day at the office or whatever, your favorite coffee cup falls off the desk and shatters on the floor, we may be suddenly hit with sorrow, regret, various other emotions, miseries, anguish over the loss of our favorite coffee cup. And all that is a denial, a forgetting, or just simply misunderstanding that cup was never going to be with you forever. It was only going to be with you for a time. And we have little to no control over when and how things go away. That is the nature of all things. All things go away. They're temporary, they're transitory. And so we avoid this fact. We ignore it. We put ourselves in self-ignorance about it. We just don't want to acknowledge that that's the nature of things. And so when our favorite coffee cup goes away, as is it would have at some point anyway, it was bound, inevitable to go away. It was never going to stay. Why are you upset over it? And so that is the nature of suffering. In this case, it is a resistance to what is. It's an attachment. And so something's going away and we're trying to hold on. And we believe we should be able to hold on, but reality is winning, as it always does. And that is really the deviousness of our resistance, because we resist and deny reality. And that resistance of reality is what causes suffering. But no matter how many times we might win the battle, so to speak, we'll lose the war. And when we finally lose the war and reality wins, in the end, we still have to deal with the fact that reality always wins. So let's say the crack wasn't that bad on the coffee cup. And so we were able to repair it. We glued it together. We had some professional put it back together. Maybe in the not so distant future from there, it breaks again, or is stolen, Or any number of things could happen. Somebody borrowed it and never returned it. Who knows? But even if we prolong something from going away, it's inevitable. It will go away. There's just no way around it. And there's these certainties of life. And I think attachment is probably one of the biggest ones. Not that it's a certainty, but it's a certainty that we cannot hold on. We couldn't hold on if we wanted to. Because reality is going to win. Things are temporary, they're transitory. We can't hold on. And so the certainty of change is one of the certainties of life that we avoid. And that causes our suffering. And so to have suffering cease really means becoming very honest with not only yourself but the world, and totally embracing what is as it is. It is surrendering to what is. You know, it is a ceasing the resistance and the denial of what is. Because as long as we're resisting and denying what is in some way, suffering in some form will arise again. And only when we cease resisting and denying what is, will there cease being the loser side of the battle. Because that would be us, by the way, because reality always wins. So that is, in a nutshell, I guess, what the cause of suffering is, like I said, ultimately an ignorance, but more specifically, ignorance, misunderstanding, avoidance, self-blinding to the facts and certainties of reality. Anyways, if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you think someone might like the video, please share. But until next time, thank you much.